That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we'll get some 2 weekends in a row.
12:02, I will call this meeting to order. ESD 3 on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. And we will start with invocation and pledge. We'll stand. I don't think we have a designated prayer, so I will be happy to do that again. Let's pray. Actually, I ought to ask Drew Dale to pray. You want to pray, Drew?
Love to.
Thanks, brother.
Father God, we thank you for this day, Lord, and we thank you for all the people that are in this room. We thank you for their willingness to serve and their servant hearts. And God, we just ask that you guide these people and the decisions that they make, and those that attend, Lord, that you give them grace and mercy, and that every step we take is to glorify you. Amen.
Amen. And the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any public comment, Chief? Okay. Move into presentations, and we will start with you.
And you have a copy of my report behind the FC tab, but a couple things that I do want to bring to your attention. You have a letter recognizing Dylan George, who is one of our firefighters. He was on a deployment. I think he was out west. He was out west for a couple weeks. And I received a phone call one day, just out of clear blue, from a sergeant that I know who was out there. He said, "I don't do this, hardly ever." And he wanted to commend Dylan for the work that he was doing, but how he represented Hutto Fire. And his comment, the big comment was, "Don't lose him." And so now the funny story to this is, I had all this put together, and I called him and his lieutenant on the afternoon, and I said, "I need you guys to come by the office, come to my office. I need to meet with you." They said, "Okay." Well, then they caught a fire. Then it was time for me to go home. They didn't get into my office until the next morning, and they said, "Man, I was up all night just wondering." But I'm proud of all our folks. This just shows you the type of people that we employ and how they represent our organization very well.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Awesome.
This past Friday, we closed on the land for Fire Station 5 with Hutto ISD. There's a copy, Mr. President, there of a drawing. And this is the drawing this is the sign that we'll put up. And what we specifically say on this one, unlike some of our others, is we say in cooperation and collaboration with Hutto ISD. The backstory on this, and I think most all of you know, is in exchange for this, we're going to eventually be working with them in their CTE program and teaching fire protection up there. So what will happen, they have an EMS program up there right now. We get them through a firefighter program, and you're going to have an 18-year-old that graduates making $75,000, $80,000 a year before, depending where they go to work in. Another part of this, which is still a piece to be worked on, and I had a conversation with Commissioner Bowles this morning. When you look at our overall plan, and that is a training facility. We love the dump. We're happy to take land by the dump. But for these folks, you know, we've got to have a place to keep the equipment and everything like that. And if we're up there by the dump, that's close to where the second high school will be. I met last Wednesday evening. I taught in the Chamber of Commerce lead program here, Chief Douglas and myself. And I had the two, I guess they're the head of the CTE program. Excuse me. We had an extensive conversation about that. So I know they're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it. So that'll be things as it comes down the road, and we'll get back to you.
That's great.
Tomorrow, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
In regards to that, I know Georgetown, I think they have one off of, is that Dobbs or DB Woods?
Yes.
DB Woods. Right. Do they just serve Georgetown or they serve other, is
Well,
that just for their Yes, fire departments, they have a fire department.
Yeah. We go for live burns to fire departments all around us.
Okay.
Because of the time that's going to be involved in not wanting to have our folks all the time
Sure.
going to either there or Pflugerville or one of those. We won't nearly have, I don't nearly project the setup that they have in Georgetown because they have crazy money in theirs and Round Rock has crazy money in theirs. But I've asked the training division to start looking at what would our essential needs be? Do we move this tower out to that location? Do we come up with an extra one? That way too, when our folks use it, we're not taking them out of district and they can easily respond from there. So
Do they commonly share that? Does Round Rock have one?
they do.
Where's it at?
Theirs is on North Maze.
Okay.
Theirs is in combination.
Passive dealerships?
Yeah.
I think it's
theirs
with
is in combination
with the,
PD department.
yeah.
Okay.
I think their original construction price was 25 million and then they passed a bond for 12 million more going in there.
But they did it jointly with the police department?
With PD, yes, sir.
Is that something we would consider doing here to
That's
consolidate?
something that we can talk to Hutto PD and see. I know that Chief Yarborough and I try to do a lot of stuff together, which will be one of the things that I'm going to mention here in just a minute. So
Okay.
we're still several years down the road on that, but I've at least asked training to start putting together what it would look like for us. Work with the school to make sure that it's conducive with the things that they want. And then we'll start to come up with some more formal plans.
Does Hutto have a proposed public safety venue type project going on right now?
No, they passed a bond several years ago for $5 million.
Okay.
And they have done nothing with it. I
Okay.
do know conversations have been had because Hutto will pay over $1 million this year for dispatch services.
Okay.
If you remember, starting this fiscal year, everyone with county had to start paying. And so they are trying to get that, go forward with it. I don't know all the details. It's tied up politically on some stuff, but they do have money, but now I think that was passed about 3 or 4 years ago, and that's not going to fund what I think they were originally looking for, which was a combination PD and having emergency management out there, having a dispatch center. And I'm not sure what else was in there.
Yeah, I may have heard wrong, but I thought I heard from talking to Hutto person, and I'm not gonna name because I can't remember my memory how good it is. But they were looking at 20 to 30 million for a new public facility, and I thought that would be a great idea if we could participate in that. You know, and if that was to our benefit, then maybe it's a consideration.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, they may have secured land, but that sort of got pushed to the back burner and I have not had conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dan, I'll add a couple of things if I may. Before I retired from Hutto ISD, we were strategically thinking about this fire station, and obviously it's a simple real estate transaction, a donation by the school district, and the board can do that because they can explain what the benefit is. The development of a fire training facility and future CTE partnerships is always still in the works, but we built in some things in not only the ninth grade center, but some of the facilities out there that are mutually exclusive for the school district. What I would say is there's a large parking lot that we developed that is intended to be overflow parking, but also designed to handle our buses and their bus rodeo, which also was built and sized appropriately so that when firefighters need to do apparatus training, there's no redundancy. They can use that facility because after hours on weekends, that parking lot's not being used.
This is out there at
This is out at the ninth
entry
grade
level high school, whatever they call it.
Ninth grade son.
And they're gonna start, turning dirt on the second high school this coming week. And it will be 27, 28 before it opens up. So I think there's some built-in things that can help with potential academy out there. That's cost savings. It's not gonna be, because we would have had to have that parking lot or not for the high school. But we deliberately went in with the right depth of asphalt and some cement at the turning radiuses because at the time, my buses need to practice and train, and so naturally, they're about the same weight as some of our apparatus. So I think there's plenty of opportunities for this to be explored. And I think it's somewhat publicly known that on the EDC side, Cottonwood Development might be a location for a public safety center and potentially some kind of fire station. That's all still in the master planning, and that's the location out here at 132 and 79 where the perfect game was once proposed. There's a potential for some additional opportunities of sharing and partnering with public safety and having those assets close by. I don't know what all will go in there, but that's in the master plan, but obviously the details are yet to be coming.
Okay.
I don't know if I hope that's appropriate to mention in this.
No, that's fine, because it's all tied together. And I do want to thank Mr. Gideon put on the ESD hat, and when he was still at Hutto ISD, we worked real closely together as far as securing the land, which is the northwest corner of Main Hippo.
Yeah, Main Hippo
Main
Drive
Hippo
or
Drive.
County Road 118.
Yeah, and Destiny.
This is for the future fire station.
This is for the future fire
Okay,
station.
not training facility.
No, sir, this is for the future fire.
How many acres does a training facility require?
I don't know, that's why I've asked training
That's fine.
division to find all that
Okay,
stuff.
that's fine. We don't need to get into the minutiae of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next item I want to mention, you may have seen and heard in the news about a Georgetown firefighter that was tragically killed. We are going to be staffing one of their stations for several hours. On, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. tomorrow, for Georgetown to be able to, their members to be able to attend the funeral. I believe Round Rock is staffing, so all the fire departments are joining together. I'm gonna go to the funeral. I know several of fire departments and fire chiefs in the area, so.
Is that at First Baptist? Okay.
No, it's at Celebration.
Oh, Celebration, okay.
And
I
to
saw that.
find someplace to be.
Bigger.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to mention is for you to start putting on your calendar for September. The Power Breakfast in September is Power Breakfast where we get all the community folks together, the leaders and everyone. Power Breakfast is September 11th. We are, myself and Chief Yarborough, looking together, planning the stuff for that, and without going into a lot of detail, I'm telling folks at the Power Breakfast, if they miss any of them, just don't miss the September 11th Power Breakfast. So, our goal is to make it.
That's great.
That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
I'm curious, this article that you included in here
Yes.
about investigation into arms of private equity and fire truck manufacturing.
Yes, so that was an article that I just got this morning. We've talked about how long now it takes to get fire apparatus.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this started under the COVID umbrella and it kind of with supply chain. Well, this talks about how some of those large investment groups took advantage of this and started buying up the small apparatus manufacturers. And what it did is it changed times. I think there's a quote in there where some of the folks with, I think it's called Rev, who is the big investor, said the longer that it takes to build a fire apparatus, the more it puts money back into the shareholders' pockets. So federal government is opening up an investigation into this. And I think I sent John, if he saw it earlier this morning, whether there's anything that can be done at the state government level. Because we went from a $500,000 fire truck to a $1 million fire truck. And this points out that these cost increases far surpass inflation, and especially what we've seen in large trucks.
So they're an effort anti-trust.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I can't believe the CFO would say that. Publicly. Interesting.
And it's in the article, so.
Good.
They're not gonna make the trucks and battery operated, are they?
No.
Natural gas.
They make a
They make an EV truck. Canton Fire Department.
About as good as the school buses as they advertise, right?
Seriously.
Okay, as long as they're not gonna make us do that.
All right. Thanks, Chief. Are you taking Rob's report too?
Yes,
Okay.
Rob is at Texas Fire Chiefs in Waco this week. So you have a copy of his statistics in there. Just two other things to point out. We've taken delivery of the battalion chief's vehicle. I know it's got some electronics that are still being done to it. And then next week, we will go up to Skeeter Fire Apparatus in Hillsboro. The squad is done. We'll go up on the final check on that and then take delivery and within the next several weeks have that one in service as well. All of these vehicles, the BC, the squad, the air vehicle, the brush truck that we took delivery on, these were 2 years or more in production. Again, we got caught in that initial COVID supply chain thing, but now we're seeing them start to come out.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions about Rob's report? Okay. Financial report. Well, no, there's a number 3 now. That's not usually on there.
He is at
Okay.
his doctor's appointment.
Okay.
For his rehab, but he had nothing else to report.
Okay. Fire marshal report. Eric?
Sir, our monthly numbers are right there in your packet. We're holding fairly consistent, about 200 new, for current construction projects. We closed them out, pick up some new ones, not a whole lot of change there, nothing really different to report. I'd be happy to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Citizens Fire Academy.
Citizens Fire Academy is rolling.
Just keeping you on your toes.
Third week, fourth week. You see,
Yeah, it's flying by, man.
and they were out here. They did some flowing some water through fire hoses and stuff like that. Turned out to be a great time. Other than that, if you have questions about that, I'll let the deputy fire marshal answer. He's a little more involved with that than I am.
Any questions? Okay. Thanks, Eric. Training report.
Our training statistics in the packet, a little over 1,400 hours this last month, which was kind of busy for us, mainly external hours. If you have any questions or anything in there, we can talk more about hours. Other than that,
Questions? Anyone?
we've had him on for a little while. We haven't had an opportunity to bring him to one of the meetings to meet y'all. So our EMS instructor that we've talked about numerous times, we have Jonah to introduce himself.
Oh,
Hey, Jonah. Welcome.
Good afternoon, ESD 43. My name is Jonah. So I am the new part-time EMS instructor for Hut Fire. So I take care of everything that is emergency medical services training. And apart from that, I take care of the advanced providers as well. So these guys that are looking to get paramedic certified or advanced training will go through me and Williamson County's credentialing process. And my last, probably most important job description in the SOPs is I take care of everything medical compliance when it comes to the state and also with to get us in good standing with the medical director of Williamson County.
Awesome.
thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
His
you.
full-time job is he works for Williamson County right now.
All right.
Okay.
That's it. Let me add one more thing. Donald forgot to mention it is, we do joint training with other fire departments and this week, was it this the first week?
Last week.
So Taylor Fire Department is coming over. And this kind of goes to what you were saying about the Taylor Fire Department's coming over and Donald and Caleb, and in fact, the whole crews are working with him. I'm not sure. Well, I know the new board members don't know. I'm sure Dan will remember. We were with Taylor, the first automatic aid on the east side of the county. So we have been working automatic aid with Taylor for well over 10 years. And by us getting together, they break bread together, they do training. So when they show up at a scene together, they don't go, who are you? They know already who they
That's
are
great.
and what they can do. Anything else on that, Donald?
No, sir. It's been a good chance for us to kind of open up and initially start building a better relationship with them. It was initiated by Taylor Fire Department, just they don't have anything at their fire stations or in the community anymore to where they can effectively train on a lot of fire skills. And with the fire stations that we've been building, we have those upstairs mezzanine areas where we've been able to customize those to look more like a residential home or a commercial apartment. And then they're able to come here to the tower where we can do ladders and hose advancement along with our ventilation prop that we just purchased this last year. And it's just going to kind of build up their skills a little bit better to offer them some training and allow us to professionally build that relationship. So we all work together better when that call does come out. With the Samsung project,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably inevitable.
Just another example of great partnerships.
I'd like to ask a question. I was interviewed recently by a high school student who asked a pretty good question regarding terrorist events and things like that. When is the last time fire has participated in active assault where, whether it's an active shooter at a school or active shooter in some sort of type of public event where law enforcement's going in, but fire has to also go in?
We're currently in the process of working with HISD PD. They have an exercise set up. We have been working with Hutto PD and their spatial units. Do you know the date, Donald, that those things are happening?
So we have our final planning meeting on May 14th to finalize everything from the training mechanism that kind of goes across all agencies, but we have 14 different agencies showing up on May 30th. And we're going to do a full-scale drill.
Okay. And
Training officer Gavin has put together a lot of the details, and he's recruited a lot of different like theater group. There's a junior ROTC and everything, and he's trying to get a lot of people in this school to make it more realistic of what would happen. We reached out to the Round Rock Training Department, and they're going to allow us to borrow forcible entry doors so that we can place forcible entry doors all around the school to make it realistic, as if like we're not able to just walk in, like we're actually going to have to try to make this real. Lieutenant Ben Jennings, myself, firefighter McSpadden here, we're all certified active shooter instructors through Alert, and we come together to kind of run our internal program. We train yearly on it to make sure that our skills are fresh, but this is going to be the first time that we get everybody together countywide, multiple fire departments, multiple police agencies, Williamson County EMS, like everybody, to actually see where our weaknesses truly are.
A few years ago, after the 9th grade center opened, there was a training event that we did out there. We were involved, PD, the sheriff's office was involved, and we all, again, collaboration, working together on that. So then these really become extensions of all that going together.
And without getting into tactics, does Williamson County have EMS or EMS units that are tactically trained?
Yes, sir. They have their own tactical medics group. They're all Cedar Park, but every unit in Williamson County is equipped to run any type of emergency like that.
Okay, cool. I'll just encourage, having been in that world on the school side, that it's the planning part that's the most important, especially when you're bringing in the actors. Otherwise, they're going to fall apart on you. So you really got to work with those kids and any adults that want to be involved, so they're prepared for the real deal, because they're not used to seeing you guys or guns coming out of the wall, out of the continuum around the belt.
Is that taking place at the 9th grade center? Yeah.
It can happen any time. As you know, there was a school shooting yesterday up in Dallas.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's the anniversary of the Virginia Tech shooting.
That's right.
too.
A couple of questions, Chief. On the command and control to the site and these interlocal agreements, if we're supporting Taylor, are they automatically command and control of that site?
Yeah, so the way that our auto aid works is a department. We have auto aid with Taylor, Pflugerville, Round Rock, and we're close to Georgetown. So an auto aid would be if we have a fire here in the city limits of Hutto, our units are dispatched, and then Taylor units are dispatched to assist. We're still in command and control. Same is true if we're dispatched automatic gate over to Taylor. Their units are still in command and control of that, and then our units are in there to do additional duties, whatever they want us to do.
And the second question I have on these sophisticated trucks, especially the ladder trucks, we get called to go to Taylor. Do we have our folks that are certified, whatever you want to call it, to operate that ladder truck and they remain with, in other words, you get the
Right.
truck, you get our driver.
The driver.
Is that how it
goes
works?
with- Yes, it does.
Okay,
So you
gotcha.
get the entire crew.
Gotcha.
So if they request the ladder, it'll be the ladder crew that will
Okay.
go. Engine 2, which is south of the tracks, a lot of times goes over there just due to the vicinity. You get the entire crew that goes over there. If we get a brush fire request, they will send the brush truck plus the engine because they're an entire crew. So they will send them all together.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good question, Dave.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Hello, Professional Firefighters Association report.
Jason is doing a soft watch in Georgetown for the Georgetown funeral. I will report that we have a meeting date set up for June 19th at 10:30 in the morning between the ESD board and the local, start on the contract discussion.
June 19th, you said.
Yes, sir. June
I saw
19th, 10:30 in the morning, the meeting will take place here.
And right now, that's Henry
Me,
and you. Subject to change,
change to
obviously.
me and you.
Okay. All right. Explorers report. Kids are happy, then that's a good
all
thing.
that matters.
That's right. Yeah, school's getting close to being out. They have a month till school's out. Of course, they're getting happy. All right. Thanks for all the reports, guys. All right. Consent agenda. Got that. Anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the consent
approve.
agenda. And a second. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda passes. Moving on to our regular agenda items. Number 1, discuss, consider, take appropriate action on the construction of the fire headquarters complex.
Every Wednesday, we hold our construction meeting with our contractors, the architect and engineer. Both slabs are poured at this point in time. Steel gets delivered next week for the warehouse.
Mhm.
And then I think a month after that, we get the steel for the headquarters building. Things are going quite well. We haven't run into any hiccups. Well, we've worked around the
Right.
hiccups that we've run into. We're waiting to sign some documents with Encore because they're going to be bringing power in underground. So, anything to add?
No, right now, it's, if you go by, you're not seeing a lot of activity just because we're waiting for the building to show up. But there'll be some site work being done. They're putting some drains. We have underground drainage collection system on both buildings for the rainwater that falls on the roof, so they'll be working on that. They finished the one at the headquarters, now they're working on the warehouse. Warehouse slab looks good. We got all that taken care of, so we're out of the ground, so to speak. We're not vertical yet.
Yeah, I drove by 2 days ago. Like, that slab looks good.
Yep.
It's a slab.
They have some work they have to do on the drive for the dang fire marshal before we can start going vertical. So we're trying to appease the fire marshal.
It's kind of important.
We need that TCO or something.
We do.
All right. Any questions? From anybody? All right. Item 2, discuss, consider, take appropriate action on briefing statement 25-2 F-150 4-wheel drive crew cab pickup.
So this briefing statement is through the fire marshal's office. I'm going to let Fire Marshal Woods describe what's going on.
So back, last year, if you remember, majority of you long board members, I think at the time, but I think Mr. Hale was at that time. We were directed by the board to get rid of that little Ford Focus C-Max car that we've had in our office for the last 7 years. We've kind of outgrown that vehicle. It just no longer meets our needs. So we went ahead and got some pricing for a brand new 2025 F-150 four-wheel drive truck as instructed. And we're buying it from the same fleet service that we bought previous vehicles from. It'll be equipped very similar. We've had good luck with these vehicles. They've suited our office well. And we can, the final price on that for that whole vehicle outfitted with the tools and supplies we need on it is right at just under this. Excuse me for a second.
61.2.
61.2.
61.2.
That was at $200.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just can't see nothing in
Is
front
this
of
a
me.
buy board?
It's fleet.
HGAC.
So it's through the pre-procurement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then I recommend we accept and authorize the purchase of this vehicle.
Okay. Have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor? Aye. And that is approved. Thank you, Eric. Item 3, and thank you, Dan, for pushing that right on through. Item 3, discuss, consider, take take action on briefing statement 2503, certification, education, pay change for fiscal year 25-26.
2012, 2013, board adopted a certification pay schedule. That was to recognize the work that the firefighters do through various things such as advanced fire, advanced officer, and things like that. We have never updated that schedule since 2012, 2013. We are now getting into budget season. We've had the meeting already on the appraisal district, and we're starting to work on that. I am bringing this to the board as a recommendation that we make this new change so that we can go forward and incorporate this into our budgeting for next year. You've got the copy both of the 2012 pay schedule, and then you've got the proposed pay schedule for starting this next fiscal year, which is attachment 2. And you'll see that there are many more certifications now that we're proposing because we're doing a lot more stuff than what we were doing in 2012.
So you evaluated this and you find it to be within reason and acceptable?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'll recommend we accept the recommendation of the chief on this.
Okay, a recommendation to approve. Second. Second from Stephen. Yep, discussion.
If EMS is training up any of our firefighters that are EMTs to become paramedics, there's nothing in here.
Yes, there is. If you will look on attachment 2 at the very bottom where it says EMS FRAP, and you've got the EMTA, which is the EMT Advanced.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
EMTP. So we recognize that we are with our FRAP program, First Responder Advanced Provider.
Okay.
So those are the ones who can do advanced protocols. We had just taken and put a lump sum in this year's budget. This actually now makes it a certification that we can pay for.
And it is, and then they'll get that annually, like a stipend.
Yes, they will get that, but they have to have been brought into credentialed into the FRAP program.
Okay.
I could have my advanced, but if I'm not working as a FRAP, then I wouldn't get that stipend.
Thank you for that.
What is the difference between the two education? Okay.
So the difference is there's levels of medicines that are regulated by schedule, and this is by federal government. And these providers are in the intermediate level. You cannot give these scheduled medications.
Okay.
So that means like any narcotics or anything like that.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we do recognize the levels as a hierarchy as well. So providers that have the licensed paramedic, which is the final higher level of education, have more say so and have more knowledge on differential diagnosis or disease processes.
Okay.
And we do all this under the county's license.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go back, because thank you for that explanation, but I'm gonna look at the other thing too. We have two categories of education. one on page 1 and one on page 2 for associates and bachelors and masters.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know what the difference was. Those two.
So interestingly, since we started this, we have had more individuals that have gone back to school to get higher education.
Good.
Not only at the bachelor's level, I believe we have at least one person who's pursuing a master's in emergency management. So we're just trying to, again, recognize this, increasing the financial benefit for them going to school to get that higher education. That benefits them as well as it benefits the organization.
Okay, so what's the difference on page 1 where it's 50 cents,
Right.
80 cents, $1.20, and on page 2 on attachment 1, it's 30 cents and 60 cents?
The proposal is just to increase it would be increasing the 30 to 50 and increasing the 60 to 80.
Okay.
So
So
attachment
attachment
1 is
1
the current.
is the current.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And we're adding.
Perfect. And do you give credit? So it's just credit per hour that y'all are getting?
So-
But what about so teachers, we get, masters plus 15 or, bachelor's plus 15, bachelor's plus 30, masters.
So we have longevity pay as well, which
Okay.
is separate from this.
Okay.
So let's say you have your bachelor's. So let's say you didn't even go for any education, you still get longevity pay.
Okay. All right. Just wondering.
And Chief, I assume this is very competitive with all the other departments in the
Yes,
area.
in fact, in some areas, we are much better
Good.
than what the others are. Several of the departments have not yet started to recognize TIFMAS. Since we're involved as much as we are with TIFMAS, as was evident by Dylan, the letter regarding Dylan, I think it's only appropriate that these guys are going out and getting a lot of training on this, that we recognize them for this.
Do we do reimbursement for classes that
So-
they're taking?
Yes, ma'am. So there's a couple different ways. Let's go back to the education side. And I'm going to use Eric as the example because he's the only one I can think. When you go to school, you have to get at least a C. And then we reimburse you at the end of that semester for the expenses that you did.
Okay.
If you're going for a higher certification, what we always try to do is to bring a course in here. I know the training division's working very good at getting more of those brought in here. But we've sent people all across the state. We'll cover those expenses while they go to those things.
Glad you were the example for getting at least a C.
See?
Overachiever.
Well, for
Good
your
job.
masters, they don't give C's. You only get an A or a B, so we got a problem, friends.
All right. Thanks for all of that.
Oh, and let me
Yep,
point
yep.
out one on here too specifically. I want to point out the car seat technician. We never recognized this before. The car seat technician, we have been doing this as an organization for 12, 13, 14 years. And what this is, it's a 40-hour class that you go through to learn to install children's car seats. We got involved in this when you would have families show up here and they go, "Can you help us?" And we go, "No, you got to go over to Cedar Park." Well, there was nothing on this side of the county, so we got involved at that point in time. We were a much smaller organization. Everyone got recognized training as car seat technician. As we've grown, some of those folks have slipped away. And to me, it's time that we start recognizing them and that training they go through too. Because I would have never believed that it would be 40 hours to learn how to install a car seat.
Hey,
It is.
Having new grandbabies, I can tell you, car seats are much more sophisticated than they used to be too.
Well, but they're a lot easier than just 20 years ago, because now they've got the latch is built into your car, where the rest of us used to have to go be down and pull up.
Carbon heat. Back of the carbon heat, the engine was a little swell.
For your baby.
Baby in the car seat because it kept you warm. You weren't attached to anything,
You just hope that Dad drove safe.
Didn't go flying. We've come a long way.
In other states, like Virginia, you had to go to the fire department and get a certification so you could take your baby from the hospital. So it varies by state. You don't have to do anything in Texas. They don't care. But it's,
Baby, if you never got certified.
Yeah.
you weren't allowed to leave the hospital. Weren't allowed
That's a
to
great
leave the
question.
hospital. But
That's
maybe
right.
you could leave them there and
You gotta
be
lock
done.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. We had a motion and a second, and no other discussion. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
And that one passes. All right. On to John. You got anything for us, John?
Today's doctor day at the legislature, I hear.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Sir.
I don't have too much. There's been a lot going on in the Capitol, since the chief, reports, last Friday. There are some hearings. There's a hearing tomorrow, regarding, a bill that's been, filed by Cecil Bell out of Montgomery County that affects municipal annexation issues. Doesn't really affect you guys though, because you all fully overlap the city of Hutto, and it really only affects those circumstances where a city is annexing and removing territory from a district. So not too concerned about that one for you all. We continue to monitor other things. I haven't seen too much that's of concern for y'all, but continuing to work on it. So happy to answer any other questions if you have them.
John, I have a question. What's the status of the lobby building?
The lobby bill is currently pending in House State Affairs.
Any other questions for John? Okay. John, I do have one question, but I'll hang on to it for just a second. So I did want to give you all an update. So Stephen and I did meet with Cheney Gamboa from EDC 2 days ago regarding the mayor's request. And yeah, we informed her that item number one, the in perpetuity item, that's not even an option, that we can't do that. And then really the meeting was just a conversation to talk about basically our willingness to have further conversations. And one of the things that we discussed was her coming and doing a presentation possibly at our May meeting. She did ask, and John, this is my question for you, is if we go into executive session for her to share pertinent information with us, is she allowed to join us in executive session?
So I have accomplished that with some other districts by getting basically an agreement in place between the city and the district that allows the city manager and the economic development director to kind of participate in our closed meetings, since they would be our economic development contacts or contracted folks. That would accomplish that and let us be in closed session for those kinds of discussions.
Okay.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
John, on the converse of that, I'm putting on my EDC hat at the moment. This morning I had a meeting with Cheney, and I strongly recommend it just because of the fiduciary role I have on the EDC, that sooner rather than later, members of the ESD should be brought into early economic development discussions. And even if there's non-disclosure agreements that are required, it would be helpful, I think, to the chief.
Yeah, we talked about that with her as well.
Oh, you did? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Well, and I guess that was the question. I think it would make it cleaner if they brought this team in earlier to have those NDA discussions, so you can kind of hear what they're trying to push economically, and then y'all can start looking at, okay, what territories of sales tax are we talking about? But it sounds like,
And like I said, I think we can accomplish those things. We just need an agreement in place to do that.
okay.
So I assume we want him to draft that agreement with.
You just direct me, I'll give it.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that's great.
On that letter, gentleman, that had two specific in that second item, did she even touch on that or?
So what we told her was kind of what we discussed at our last meeting is that we can't even talk about that. I mean, until we know what we're talking about. So yeah, we made that point to her.
Thank you.
And we even said, potentially it would be good to look at development by development, look at developments one at a time instead of some blanket thing. But really, there was nothing more than just, hey, we're open to conversations, more information when you can give us that more information. Obviously, she couldn't give us anything specific during that meeting since it was just really kind of opening that door.
Yeah, it's just that his mayor's letter was very specific about what the mega site and what was the other one? Cottonwood.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to go to
0
and then 100%.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if she had an input in that or not. But
Not really. I mean, I told her, I was like, look, I'm not, as a board, we haven't made any decisions or even open negotiations because we don't even know what we're negotiating. But
We'd be saying yes.
yeah, we wouldn't know what we would be saying yes or no to. I said, pretty good chance that we wouldn't say yes to 100% to them, but we would be open to just discussing. So yeah, it was really just an intro and then we kind of followed that up with maybe we start having her come in for quarterly meeting, some of our meetings quarterly to give us updates on potential development out there so that we just kind of keep that we stay ahead of that conversation.
that's pretty consistent with what we had talked in previous meetings that I've been on the board, which is we'll look at it project by project.
Right.
And,
So I appreciate the conversation, but I'm gonna cut you guys off because we're not posted to talk about all of that today.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
We're in attorney-client conversation in my report, so I think we need to probably put that on a future agenda so you guys can talk about those things in more detail.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if we'll draft that. Okay. Thanks, John, for ending our meeting. All right. 12:49. We will adjourn.
Anything else?
Thanks, Joe.